We stayed in Montego Bay that night, never expecting that the following day there'd be a sequel even more frightening. Months earlier, I had written to my father in Jamaica to build an airstrip on the racetrack on our ranch. He wrote back that the job was going along fine. He was following my directions about wind, leveling the strip, and it would be 1,000-foot run. There was a bulldozer on the estate, and it had been put to work. He wrote, "You can land a plane now any time you want to." We took off from Montego Bay, with me at the controls and Barry enjoying the scenery of the north coast of Jamaica. You can find nothing more beautiful. It is a wondrous sight. You zing along low over the water and see the royal palms, the coconuts, the beaches, the incessant green as if one huge leaf covers the whole land. You can almost smell the frangipani trees, and the hibiscus is everywhere. The idyllic way to go to your own ranch. We reached the region over Port Antonio. Below, in the harbor, lay the Zaka, and I said to Barry, "Let's buzz it. Do you mind if I hang on? Don't want you to go flying between the masts and showing off." I've no idea of showing off, especially after last night at Montego. I circled about 3 times over the top of the Zaka. Below, on deck, was my faithful crew, arms waving. There was the Titchfield, and people were out in front, staring up, waving. It was a real homecoming. There were only a few miles more to go to the airstrip at Boston. There would be another welcoming, and then a dinner, music, the gaiety of the tropics. I steered for the Flynn Boston house. In a few minutes, we were over the racetrack, part of which was supposed to be converted to an airstrip. Airstrips are supposed to be level, and they are always in a straight line. But the strip that my father built was like none that Barry and I had ever seen. Peering down at it, it was shaped like a dog's leg. It made a kind of triangle. If it was 1,000 feet long, it if it was 1,000 feet long, it was laid out in 3 contraposed directions so as to measure that distance. At one corner of this triangle, there was an enormous tree. Beyond that tree, the strip went off at a different angle. I looked at this lightning-shaped strip aghast. There was no possible way to get in. Over the tree? Into it? Beyond it? Below, as we closed in, looking for a way to get at the field, the angles enlarged. The tree was right in my way. "Barry, there isn't a chance here in a ton load." "Barry, there isn't a chance here in a ton load. Our best bet is to go to Kingston. Fly 25 minutes more." "The hell you say! Baron, look there." The petrol gauge again. It was empty. We hadn't put much in at Montego Bay because it was only a short run to Boston. We headed out over the water. Again, cigarette smoking. "Barry, what do you think we ought to do?" "Guess you better take another turn." "If we take another turn, we'll never make it anywhere else." "Barry, I can't make it. Impossible. You want to try it?" "I'm thinking," he said. "What?" "What I've been thinking is no." "Barry, you're a better flyer than I. You want to have a go?" "Okay, move over." We switched, and he said, "Get that seatbelt fastened mighty quick. If we're going to crack, we're going to go over on our front, and we're going to roll over. So I'm going to cut the motor as soon as we get down. That would lessen the danger of fire from a crack-up." We were convinced we were headed for a smack, but this was the last instant for action. Barry moved in towards the airstrip. He came in high, aimed straight down for that damned tree, plummeting like a hawk on a chicken, and he plumbed the plane in the first possible space behind the tree. He slid the plane down, almost sheer. He pulled her up, straightened out, and the plane careened along this horrible slanted ruddy strip. The coconut tree at the end of it came closer and closer. Next to it was a brick wall. It was hit one or hit the other. We were on one wheel. The plane moved like a tightrope walker over the field, these obstacles magnifying, and then we stopped exactly in front of the brick wall, with no more than 2 inches between our propeller and that barrier. I looked at Barry. His complexion is normally gray, but this time it was like Bela Lugosi's before a draft of blood. My heart hammered, and I couldn't move. People came running. My father and my mother, my son Sean, who was visiting his grandparents, the neighbors, the workers on our ranch. I kissed my mother's hand. I hugged Sean. I embraced my father. I said hello to others. Then, promptly, in front of everybody, I threw up. When I began to recover, rage worked up in me. I hissed into my father's ear, "Dad, what in the freaking world ever made you build an airstrip like this? You must be mad. We almost got killed." He salved me in his usual way. Now, old boy, don't be silly. Let's have a drink. You'll feel better." "Bugger off, Dad. I feel lousy. I almost broke my neck. Whoever heard of a crooked airstrip with 100 feet? I mean, foot-high tree in the middle of it, for God's sake." Now, son, not in front of your dear mother." We went up to the house, ancient, comfortable Boston house, since burned down, but then looking homey. At the house, Mother offered me some tea. Tea, of all things. How understanding can a person be at a time like this, when Barry and I needed restoratives of the sternest sort? I spoke to my father in a way I rarely did, for normally Mother and I had an option on all major family entanglements. "Dad, how in hell could you do this? I sent you the plan. You know how an airstrip is supposed to be built. Or you ought to know." "My boy," he said, "please, let's not discuss it." "Yes, let's. I want to know. Must I believe that a man of your supposed intellect in the world of science is ignorant of the shape of an airstrip? If you must know, son, your mother has always been fond of that tree. She likes to see the little calves gambol under it of an evening. She wouldn't let me cut it down." I waited till dinner time the following day before I nailed her to her own cross. I teach her how to spend my money on church belfries. Dinner was cheerful, gay. Despite all, Mother is a fabulous cook. We went out to the veranda for tea. Finally, I said to my son, "Listen, sport, mind if I have a little talk with Mother?" She sat up stiffly, the Duchess of Boston. Sean went out, around the house, just out of sight, where he could listen cleanly and honestly. I pulled out the statement on the belfry costs. "Mother, there are a few items," she interrupted. "Errol, what items? It wasn't a question at all. It was a frontal attack." A few things here I would like to have you explain. For instance, I don't understand why our launch, our boat—" I got about that far. She said, "What else?" Here's what I really want to talk about. My nerves had rallied. There must have been a bit of rasp in my voice. "I would like to know how you could put up a belfry for an old bell and have it cost me 5,000 smackaroos. Don't you think we could halfway rebuild the whole cathedral for that? And besides," that was as far as I got. She turned from me and stabbed a finger at my father. "Theodore, I told you that Errol would take this attitude." Father rose. He said, "I don't know much about it, my darling," and looked vague, as is his habit under fire. "Of course, you don't know anything about anything, but Errol is always like this, Theodore. He has no sense at all." My father paused in the doorway as he made ready to enter the house. "How," she addressed him, calling upon logic, Mother's logic, "does he expect," point at me, "that you can put up a belfry with no church under it? Does he want to see this belfry hanging up in the air just with a bell and with no church under it to support it?" My father beat it then, leaving me trying to envision a belfry defying gravity, sitting in mid-air, with a bell and no church underneath it. They'd have a hell of a time with that one, even in the special effects department of the Warners. Around the other side of the house, I heard a steady snickering. It was Sean, getting his usual rise out of these things that went on between Mother and me. I was glad somebody was happy. She turned on me. She didn't know how I could be this unreasonable. Didn't I see? Didn't I understand? Well, that was where the money went. "No, I didn't see." "Well, I didn't expect you to," snorted Mother, mollified. She rose from her chair on the veranda. She pointed across the Errol Flynn estates, 5,000 acres into which I put my life, my money, my time, my interest, my years. My own property, my new home, where I was looking for peace. Go out for a walk, Errol, and come back when you make some sense, she rasped, tossing me out of my own house. My son Sean thought it was all slightly hilarious, and I felt like giving him a clip over the ear. Sean and I took a long walk in the frangipani, a long, cool stroll through the paths between the palms, into the green-stalked meadows, beyond the chicken coops, and higher to where the goats scampered, then far over the knolls where the green lime grew, beyond to the houses where the farmhands lived, then up, up to a high point that looked serenely across the long, quiet waters of the Caribbean. At the outset, I told how my 18-year-old long affair with Warner Brothers came to an end. The hassle I had with Jack Warner at the time was one of the worst, although we laugh at it today. Most people who work for a company for so long a time get some recognition. My recognition, in 1952, when I was ending my service with Warner's, came in the form of a letter accusing me of a breach of contract, holding up the company, and general bad behavior. When I met Jack in his offices, he was smiling, cheerful, his usual gay manner, but with wariness underneath. The talk went something like this. I think, Baron, he said, we settle with you the same way we did with Bogart. What's that? He paid us $100,000 to buy up his contract. I smiled at Jack. Don't you think it's a good idea we do it the other way around in my case? You pay me $100,000. He got up to break off the interview. What? Are you crazy? No, just want to break my contract. Actually, I was anxious to get out of it, but I said, I'm happy after being here so long. I like it. What would you prefer? Just what I said, you pay me. He laughed now, a friendly laugh. Come on, let's talk sense, he offered. I tell you what, you pay us $50,000 and we'll let you go. I imitated his laugh. I had some acting experience. There was an impasse. We parted. A week later, I was shown into Jack's quarters again. Once more, he asked, what do you propose to pay us? Pay you? Nothing. You know what this can lead to. This is no threat. We can cast you in any kind of role that we want under the contract. We don't have to star you. You know your contract. I said I did. I'll tell you something, Jack. If what you are implying is you have me play the chauffeur who comes in and says, your car is ready, sir, and goes out, I'll do it. As a matter of fact, you call me to work, and I will even go further than that. I will sweep out the men's room, but I'm paying you nothing. That must have been what Jack was waiting for. In that case, why not just let's call the whole thing off right here and now? It's a deal. That was how I left Warner's. Through with films, facing the future, not knowing how I was going to make a living, with most of what I had tied up in Jamaica, real estate, and determined not to part with that, I now had the biggest problem of my life. What to do? Stay in the United States without earning money and try to maintain the regiment of interests that drew on me for sustenance? How could I do it? I had children, ex-wives, aides, a new wife. I even had a new child, Arnella, by Patrice. Most of all, there was always my nemesis, Lily. A generation after that first hot love of ours, I was still paying and paying and paying. I remember Lily Demita fondly. She did not rob me of my best years, as the saying goes, usually said by women. Her memory is forever fresh when I feel the holes she left in my head. Lily taught me more than I wanted to learn. The workings of a woman's mind are not as torturous as some think. Novelists make some great mystery about female psychology, but maybe these novelists have had only some piddling experience with women, so that they have not had enough to go on, so as to speculate or draw conclusions. It is true, I got a late start with the feminine mentality, but Lily had engine power enough to put me out ahead of the rest of my brethren in the opportunity to learn something. In the same breath, I want to say, a woman friend is the best friend you can have. In my early days, I was brought up to hear it said that you can never have a real woman friend, that male friendship is deeper, like Damon and Pythos. That's not true. Not in my book. I've had two great friends. I still have them. They are so far superior to male friends, so much more understanding, so much more generous in feelings. Solid friends, both women. I learned when the cards were down who were my friends and who were not. And these were: women make better friends than men. Good, really honest friends. When the going is tough, give me a woman for a friend. If they happen to care for you, they will go farther than any man. Half the world will disagree, but that has been my experience, and it's useless to generalize unless you can speak from the empirical. The situation I faced after I was through with Warner's was this: I would never be able to make the annual payments which the court called for me to make to Lily at this time. The sum had become astronomical. The tax on the tax on the tax had become impossible. Lily was gradually breaking me, and by this time, when the main part of my picture-making career was ending, she, her lawyers and my lawyers, and the California court broke me. It worked on me that a man could be forced to risk his life and limb in my type of action picture and wind up with nothing or very little. A little was left over for me to put into Jamaica real estate. Now, with no more money coming in, I decided to put in a call and ask her to get her teeth out of my neck. I telephoned her at Palm Beach. "Hello, Lily." "Yes?" "This is Errol." "Yes?" "I can't keep up these payments to you any longer. You'll have to do something to make it easier." "I don't know what you're talking about." "I'm wound up at Warner Brothers. My earning power is over. You'll have to get off my back." "Flynn, you better talk with my lawyers." A familiar noise. "I've given you $1,000,000 and it has to stop. What do you want? Do you want me to put my blood in bottles and have them send it to you and you drink at the meal times?" "I don't understand, Flynn." "Well, I'm through, Lily. You're not getting any more." "Flynn, talk with my lawyers." She slammed the phone. I said to myself, to hell with California, to hell with America. I'll live on the Zaka, sail the seas, beat it. I had to do this, or kill myself with this burden, or go crazy. I decided I would do nothing of the sort. I'll leave this adopted country for good. Let them chase me through the world. Let every leech try to collect. Let Lily hire more lawyers and cops and collectors, and let them all pursue me through Europe. I'd gotten mighty goddamn tired of hearing people say, "It's Flynn. Take the son of a bitch for all you can while the getting's good." With my wife Pat and my daughter Arnella, I took flight for Rome.